Raphael Alvarado, a 35-year-old tycoon, sat alone in his penthouse. The room was spotless, its polished surfaces reflecting the city lights from the towering windows. He was not just any wealthy man. He was the owner of an empire of hotels that redefined luxury and innovation. Yet, despite the accolades and his face gracing countless magazine covers, Raphael remained a solitary figure. "Sir, your dinner is ready," Maria, his loyal housekeeper, said softly as she placed a dish on the table. Raphael gave her a brief nod, still immersed in a business report. "Thank you, Maria." "Will you ever stop working and let someone into your life?" she ventured cautiously. "Love isn't for men like me," Raphael replied, his voice even. "I have my goals. They don't disappoint me." Maria sighed, knowing better than to press further. Raphael's focus was unmatched, his every move calculated. His success wasn't handed to him. It was earned through relentless effort, an iron will, and a refusal to let emotions cloud his judgment. This evening, however, his routine was interrupted by a call from Victor, his closest friend and business partner. "Rafa, we've got a golden opportunity," Victor began without preamble. "Alessandro Rasso wants to collaborate with us." "Rasso?" Raphael's interest was piqued. The man was a heavyweight in international business circles. "Yes, but there's a hitch," Victor added. "He has a thing for stable partnerships, both personal and professional. He expects us to bring our fiancés or wives to the dinner." Raphael chuckled. "You know I don't do relationships, Victor." "Well, you've got a week to figure it out," Victor replied. "This could change everything for us." Raphael hung up, his mind already racing. For the first time in years, he faced a challenge that wasn't strictly business. Raphael's success had been hard-fought. Born into a struggling family, he grew up in a cramped home with peeling paint and patched furniture. Every day was a test of survival, but it was also where he learned the value of ambition. "Rafa, help me with the laundry," his mother called out one evening. "In a minute, Mama," young Raphael replied, sketching furiously in a battered notebook. "What's so important there?" she asked, peering over his shoulder. "Hotels," he answered with a smile. "Someday I'll build the best ones in the world." His mother chuckled. "Dreams are free, but they take work, my boy." Encouraged by her words, Raphael poured himself into school, excelling in design and architecture. A school presentation on his hotel concepts earned him recognition from his teachers, who encouraged him to aim higher. But his ambitions were tested during his university years when he met Asira, a wealthy and beautiful classmate. "Asira," Raphael said one afternoon, nervously holding out a bouquet of daisies, "would you like to go to dinner with me?" She smiled, amused by his earnestness. "Why not, Raphael?" "You're persistent, I'll give you that." For months, Raphael courted her, spending what little money he had on gifts and outings. He thought he had found love, but Asira saw him as little more than a diversion. "I need someone who can match my lifestyle," she told him coldly one day. "You're not that person." Her rejection shattered him, but it also fueled his resolve. One day, she'll regret this, he vowed to himself. With that fire burning inside him, Raphael graduated at the top of his class and landed a prestigious job at a major construction firm. "Your designs are extraordinary," his boss told him. "You've got a bright future, Alvarado." Those words marked the beginning of a meteoric rise. Raphael spent 2 years learning the ropes, traveling across the globe and honing his craft. When the time felt right, he left to start his own company. The early days were brutal. Loans piled up, clients were scarce, and failure seemed imminent. But Raphael never wavered. He poured his heart and soul into his first major project, a glass-walled hotel atop a skyscraper. The project was a resounding success, catching the eye of investors and the media. From there, his career skyrocketed. "We want more of your vision," clients demanded, and Raphael delivered ship-shaped hotels, airplane hostels, even underwater resorts. Every project was a testament to his creativity and determination. Despite his achievements, Raphael avoided personal relationships, scarred by Asira's betrayal. His focus remained solely on expanding his empire, and he convinced himself that love was a liability. But the call from Victor changed everything. For the first time in years, Raphael needed to rely on someone else, not for business, but to play a part in his carefully controlled life. With the dinner looming, Raphael resolved to find a solution. Little did he know that this challenge would lead him to a young woman who would turn his world upside down. The days after Victor's call were a whirlwind for Raphael. For years, his structured life had revolved around meetings, designs, and the quiet solitude of his penthouse. Now he found himself grappling with a peculiar challenge, finding a fiancée by Saturday. Sitting at his desk, Raphael leaned back and rubbed his temples. A fiancée by the weekend. How ridiculous, he muttered. His assistant, Camilla, knocked and entered with a stack of files. "You called for me, Mr. Alvarado?" "Yes, Camilla," Raphael replied, gesturing for her to sit. "I need you to do something unconventional." She raised an eyebrow. "Unconventional? I need you to find someone willing to pose as my fiancée for a business dinner," he explained, his tone matter-of-fact. "She should be well-mannered, articulate, and—" He paused, recalling Victor's words. "Preferably someone with long, dark hair and blue eyes." Camilla stared, unsure if he was serious. "You're not joking." "Do I look like I'm joking?" Raphael shot back. After a brief hesitation, Camilla nodded. "I'll reach out to my contacts, but this is unusual, sir." "Unusual or not, it must be done," Raphael said firmly. "I'll meet the candidates tomorrow." The following day, Raphael sat in his office, reviewing his emails as Camilla introduced the first candidate. The young woman walked in, wearing a tailored gray suit. "Señorita Torres," Raphael said, standing to greet her. She shook his hand nervously, her cheeks turning pink. "It's a pleasure to meet you, Mr. Alvarado." As the interview began, Raphael realized her answers were halting, punctuated with long pauses and awkward stammers. After 20 minutes, he politely thanked her and asked Camilla to bring in the next candidate. The second woman was strikingly beautiful, but exuded a cold demeanor that Raphael found off-putting. The third candidate was cheerful but overly naive, and the fourth was so nervous she could barely speak. By the end of the day, Raphael was frustrated. "None of them are right," he said, pacing the room. Camilla looked apologetic. "I can keep searching." "No," Raphael interrupted. "I need fresh air. I'll figure it out." He grabbed his coat and left the office, walking aimlessly through the city streets. As Raphael wandered, he found himself in front of a public library, an old building with heavy wooden doors. On impulse, he stepped inside, the familiar scent of books enveloping him. Rows of shelves stretched before him, and he began browsing aimlessly, drawn to the comforting stillness of the place. "Can I help you find something?" a soft voice asked. Startled, Raphael turned to see a young woman with round glasses and a name badge that read, "Na Martinez." She had long, dark hair pulled into a loose braid, and her blue eyes sparkled with curiosity. "I was just looking," Raphael said, feeling unexpectedly self-conscious. Na smiled. "Well, this is the right place for that." Raphael hesitated, then asked, "Do you have any books on philosophy?" "Of course," she said, gesturing for him to follow. As they walked through the aisles, Raphael studied her. She moved with an unhurried grace, her demeanor calm but confident. "This section has Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle," Na said, stopping in front of a row of thick volumes. "Thank you," Raphael replied, though his mind wasn't on philosophy anymore. An idea had taken root, a crazy, impulsive idea. "Actually," he began, clearing his throat, "I need your help with something." Na looked at him curiously. "With what?" "It's not related to books," Raphael admitted. "I need someone to pose as my fiancée for an important business dinner." Na blinked, clearly taken aback. "Excuse me?" "I know it sounds strange," Raphael said quickly, "but it's purely professional. I'll compensate you generously, and it's just for one evening." She stared at him for a moment, then crossed her arms. "Why me?" "You fit the description I had in mind," Raphael replied honestly. "And you seem trustworthy." Na's lips twitched in amusement. Trustworthy enough to pretend to be someone's fiancée? Exactly, Raphael said, deadpan. She considered him for a long moment. What's the catch? There isn't one, he said. You'll simply accompany me to dinner, act polite, and answer a few questions about our relationship. That's all. Na tilted her head. And why should I agree to this? Because I'll make it worth your time, Raphael said. Name your price. She hesitated, then sighed. Fine, but I have some conditions. Name them, Raphael said, relieved. First, I'm in charge of what I wear. Second, no surprises. You'll tell me everything I need to know beforehand. And third, she paused, meeting his gaze. I don't lie about who I am. If someone asks, I'll tell them I'm a librarian. Raphael smirked. Fair enough. Then we have a deal, Na said, extending her hand. He shook it, feeling a strange sense of anticipation. We'll meet tomorrow to go over the details. As Raphael left the library, he couldn't shake the feeling that Na's involvement might complicate things in ways he hadn't anticipated. By Saturday evening, Raphael stood near the entrance of the Magnolia restaurant, dressed impeccably in a light grey suit. His expensive watch gleamed under the soft glow of the restaurant's lights, but his mind was restless. Victor and Isabella were already inside, waiting at the reserved table. Raphael checked his phone again for a message from Na. Are you nervous, brother? Victor teased when Raphael finally joined them. Hardly, Raphael replied, forcing a smile. Where's your fiancée? Isabella asked, her tone light but curious. She'll be here any minute, Raphael replied, scanning the room. Moments later, Na walked in, and Raphael's breath caught. She had chosen a modest yet elegant dark blue dress that perfectly complemented her pale complexion. Her hair was tied back into a sleek bun, and simple earrings adorned her ears. She looked dignified and confident, exactly what Raphael needed. As she approached, Raphael stood, offering her his arm. You look perfect, he whispered. I know, she replied with a smirk, slipping her arm into his. They joined Victor and Isabella at the table, exchanging pleasantries. It wasn't long before Alessandro Raso and his fiancée arrived. Raphael's confidence wavered as he recognized the woman at Rasso's side. Asira. Asira's gaze lingered on Raphael, her expression unreadable. Well, this is a surprise, she said softly. Small world, Raphael replied, keeping his voice steady. Na noticed the tension immediately. Is something wrong? She asked under her breath. Nothing I can't handle, Raphael muttered, squeezing her hand briefly. The group settled into their seats, and Alessandro introduced himself to Na. So you're the one who's captured Raphael's heart, he said warmly. Na smiled politely. I suppose you could say that. Asira leaned forward, her eyes sharp. How long have you two been together? Nearly a year, Na replied without hesitation. Raphael nodded, adding, She's been a grounding presence in my life. The conversation shifted to business, with Raphael and Victor presenting their plans for a new project. Alessandro listened intently, nodding occasionally, but Raphael couldn't shake the feeling that Asira was studying him. When the waiter arrived with their meals, Na ordered plain rice, surprising everyone. Plain rice? Alessandro asked, amused. I'm mindful of what I eat, Na said simply, meeting his gaze without flinching. Asira smirked. Still a child, I see. Na's expression didn't waver. Better that than being someone who hides their insecurities behind extravagance. Raphael nearly choked on his drink, but Alessandro laughed heartily. I like her, Raphael. She's got spirit. The dinner progressed smoothly, but Raphael couldn't escape the feeling that something was brewing. Na's calm demeanor and sharp wit impressed Alessandro, but Asira's presence loomed over the table like a shadow. As the dinner wound down, Alessandro leaned back in his chair, smiling. This has been a pleasant evening. Your ideas are innovative, Raphael. I'm almost ready to proceed. Almost? Victor asked, a hint of nervousness in his voice. My reputation is everything, Alessandro replied. "I need to know that my partners are as honest as they are competent. Can you guarantee that?" "Of course," Raphael said confidently. "Absolutely," Victor added. Before Alessandro could respond, Na cleared her throat. "Are you sure about that, Raphael?" The table fell silent. Raphael turned to her, his brow furrowed. "What do you mean?" "I'm talking about the house your company demolished a few years ago," Na said, her voice steady but cold. "The one my family lived in." Victor froze, his hand tightening around his glass. Raphael's expression shifted to shock. "What are you talking about?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "My father fought to keep that house," Na continued. "But your company forced us out. We had 3 days to pack up before bulldozers came." Alessandro's gaze darkened as he turned to Raphael. "Is this true?" "I don't know anything about this," Raphael said, his voice strained. "That's a lie," Na snapped, standing up. "You're the head of the company. How could you not know?" "Wait," Raphael said, his tone pleading. "I swear I didn't approve this." Victor finally spoke, his voice low. "Raphael didn't know. It was me. I handled that project while he was away." "Victor?" Raphael's voice cracked with disbelief. "There was no other way," Victor admitted, avoiding Raphael's gaze. "The family refused to sell, and we were on a deadline. I paid them compensation." "You destroyed my family's home," Na interrupted, tears in her eyes. "No amount of money can fix that." She grabbed her purse and stormed out. Raphael stood to follow her, but Alessandro raised a hand. "Stay," Alessandro said coldly. "We're not done here." Raphael sat down reluctantly, his mind racing. "You have a lot to answer for, Mr. Alvarado," Alessandro said, his tone sharp. "Integrity is everything to me. If you can't control your own company, how can I trust you?" Raphael couldn't find the words to respond. Alessandro stood, taking Asira's hand. "Good evening, gentlemen. I'll be in touch if I decide there's anything worth salvaging here." Asira shot Raphael one last look before walking away with Alessandro. Victor slumped in his chair. "I messed up," he admitted. "You didn't just mess up," Raphael said, his voice low and angry. "You've jeopardized everything we've built." Without another word, Raphael left the restaurant. Outside, he spotted Na walking briskly down the street. He called out to her, but she didn't stop. "Na, wait!" he shouted, running to catch up. She finally turned, her face streaked with tears. "What do you want, Raphael?" "To explain," he said, breathless. "I didn't know about your house. Victor handled that project while I was away. I would never have approved it." "Why should I believe you?" Na asked, her voice trembling. "Because I mean it," Raphael said, his tone earnest. "I'll do whatever it takes to make this right." Na looked at him for a long moment before shaking her head. "You can't undo the past, Raphael, and you can't fix this with money." She turned and walked away, leaving Raphael standing alone in the cold night. The next morning, Raphael couldn't shake the events of the previous night. Na's words echoed in his mind, her tears etched into his memory. He had faced business setbacks before, but this was different. This wasn't about profits or contracts. This was personal. He sat in his penthouse, staring at his phone. Finally, with a determined sigh, he grabbed his coat and headed to the library. When he arrived, Na was there, shelving books. She didn't notice him until he cleared his throat. "You again?" she said, her tone cold. "I came to apologize," Raphael said earnestly. Na crossed her arms. "For what exactly? For the house? For lying? Or for dragging me into your mess?" "For all of it," Raphael replied. "And for not knowing what my own company was doing. I take responsibility for Victor's actions because I trusted him to handle things right." Na raised an eyebrow. "And yet, here we are." "I want to fix this," Raphael insisted. "I'll help your family however I can." "We don't need your charity," she said sharply. "It's not charity," Raphael said, stepping closer. "It's making amends." Na looked at him for a moment, her expression softening slightly. "How do I know this isn't just another one of your performances?" Raphael sighed. "I don't blame you for doubting me. but I'll prove it. Let me show you I'm serious." Na hesitated, then turned back to her books. "Fine, but don't expect me to trust you overnight." Over the next few weeks, Raphael made good on his promise. He met with Na's parents, arranging for their relocation to a better home, this time with their full approval. He also initiated changes within his company, ensuring stricter oversight on all projects. Victor tried to apologize again, but Raphael's trust in him was shattered. "You betrayed me," Raphael said firmly. "Fixing this doesn't erase what you did." As Raphael worked to rebuild Na's trust, the two began spending more time together. They met for coffee, exchanged stories, and found common ground in their love for books. One evening, as they walked through the city, Raphael turned to Na. "I never thought someone like you could change my perspective." "Someone like me?" Na asked, smirking. "A stubborn librarian with a sharp tongue," Raphael teased. She laughed, the sound warming his heart. "And I never thought a billionaire could care about anything other than money." "Maybe I've been looking for the wrong things all along," Raphael admitted. Months later, Raphael found himself standing in the library once again. This time, he wasn't there to borrow books. Na was at the desk, her nose buried in a novel. She looked up as he approached, her expression curious. "What are you doing here?" she asked. "I came to ask you something," Raphael said, pulling a small box from his pocket. Na's eyes widened as he opened it, revealing a simple yet elegant diamond ring. "Will you marry me?" Raphael asked, his voice steady but his heart pounding. Na stared at him, speechless. Then a smile slowly spread across her face. "You're serious?" "Completely," Raphael said. "You've shown me what really matters. I want to build a life with you, together." Na took the ring, her fingers trembling. "Yes," she whispered. Raphael laughed in relief, pulling her into a tight embrace. "I promise I'll spend the rest of my life making you happy." Their wedding was a small, intimate affair, attended by close friends and family. Na's parents beamed with pride, finally at peace after years of hardship. For their honeymoon, Raphael and Na traveled to Europe, visiting literary landmarks and sharing their love for stories. From Shakespeare's birthplace in England to the cafes of Paris, where Hemingway once wrote, they found joy in every moment together. "Do you ever think about what brought us here?" Na asked one evening, as they sat by a crackling fire in a cozy inn. "All the time," Raphael replied. "If it weren't for Alessandro's ridiculous demand, I might never have met you. And if you hadn't been such a mess, I might never have agreed," Na teased. Raphael laughed, taking her hand. Sometimes the best things come from the most unexpected places. When they returned home, Na moved into Raphael's penthouse, which she quickly filled with her books and personal touches. Evenings were spent reading together, their quiet moments filled with warmth and love. For the first time in his life, Raphael felt complete, not because of his wealth or success, but because of the woman by his side. Raphael and Na's life settled into a rhythm that was as simple as it was fulfilling. Each evening they shared stories and laughter, their home filled with warmth that no amount of wealth could buy. Raphael's once cold, calculated existence had transformed into one of love and meaning. "You know," Na said one night as they sat on the couch, books in hand, "I never thought agreeing to your crazy plan would lead to this." "Neither did I," Raphael admitted, smiling. "But it's the best decision I've ever made." Together they turned their shared passion for stories into a foundation supporting libraries and literacy programs worldwide. Raphael's business continued to thrive, but now his success wasn't just measured in numbers. It was in the lives he and Na touched. As they closed another chapter in their day, Raphael turned to Na. "For all the plans I've ever made, you were the one I didn't see coming. And I'm grateful for that every single day. If you loved this story of redemption, love, and second chances, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more heartfelt tales. Thank you for watching.